What if the world's most enduring legends reflect more about our fears and hopes than we realize? From towering forest shadows to ripples in deep lakes, 10 cryptids continue to spark debate and fascination, no matter whether they're real or the product of folklore. In this video, we'll examine Bigfoot's elusive footprints, the Yeti's Himalayan whispers, Nessie's Lochside legends, and more, culminating in cryptid number 10, which will make you question how legends endure in the face of science. Stick around to explore why these tales captivate us, even when proof remains out of reach. Imagine hiking alone through the dense, shadowed forests of the Pacific Northwest, when a series of deep, resonant wood knocks reverberates through the towering pines. Your heart races as you glimpse a massive, hair-covered silhouette slipping behind a fallen log. This is the enduring image of Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, a towering, ape-like humanoid said to roam these ancient woodlands. Despite countless eyewitness accounts, footprint casts, blurry photographs, and even the famous Patterson-Gimlin film, no conclusive physical evidence has ever been produced, leaving Bigfoot one of North America's most tantalizing riddles. At its core lies a maze of unanswered questions. Does an unknown primate species really inhabit remote forests, or are sightings misinterpretations of known animals, hoaxes, or psychological phenomena? Indigenous cultures across the Pacific Northwest have long recounted stories of wild men or forest people, suggesting that the notion of a large, bipedal creature predates modern cryptozoology. These legends often describe a being larger than humans, covered in dark hair, elusive yet sometimes interacting with people. Portrayals that resonate with contemporary Sasquatch lore. Modern reports surged in the mid-20th century when large footprints appeared in 1958 near Bluff Creek, California. Casts measured up to 18 inches long, with dermal ridges and pronounced toe impressions in some cases, sparking intense interest. Soon after, the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film purportedly captured a female Sasquatch striding across a creek bed, its proportions and gait provoking endless debate. Skeptics cite costume theories, misidentification of bears, or outright fabrication, while proponents emphasize anatomical details they argue are difficult to fake. Field researchers have scoured vast tracts of wilderness with motion-triggered cameras, hoping to catch clear images. Thermal imaging and remote acoustic sensors listen for unusual sounds, such as long, mournful howls or wood knocks that lack obvious animal sources. Hair and tissue samples claimed to be from Bigfoot have undergone DNA analysis. Most turn out to belong to known species, or are inconclusive contaminants. Environmental DNA sampling of water and soil offers a new frontier. So far, environmental DNA studies in alleged Bigfoot habitats have not revealed unknown primate sequences. But researchers continue refining methods, acknowledging that vast, rugged ecosystems are challenging to sample comprehensively. Possible explanations span from an undiscovered hominid, perhaps a relic population of an ancient great ape lineage, to misidentified bears standing upright, to collective hallucinations or cultural memes that shape witness perceptions. Some scientists propose Gigantopithecus, a prehistoric ape once found in Asia, as a distant relative. But transporting such a lineage to North America and sustaining a breeding population requires evidence we have yet to find. Why has no body or clear skeletal remains emerged? Advocates suggest that a small, low-density population living in remote areas could evade detection, and that ritualistic or environmental factors might lead to rapid decomposition or scavenging of remains. Skeptics counter that even elusive large mammals eventually leave verifiable traces, pointing to the extraordinary burden of proof on Bigfoot believers. Despite the stalemate, interest remains undiminished. Amateur and professional researchers collaborate through organizations dedicated to field surveys, footprint analysis, and acoustic monitoring. Advances in drone technology allow aerial surveys of inaccessible terrain. Meanwhile, cultural fascination thrives. Documentaries, podcasts, and local festivals keep the legend alive, blending folklore with the scientific impulse to explore the unknown. Ultimately, whether an undiscovered species still wanders the forest depths or Sasquatch exists primarily in the human imagination, the search unites believers and skeptics alike in a shared quest to understand what might lie beyond the edge of our knowledge. If this forest enigma captured your imagination, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Next, we'll venture to the Himalayas for cryptid number 2, the Abominable Snowman. Picture yourself ascending a windswept Himalayan ridge at dawn, when your footprints vanish in fresh snow and the world is silent except for the whistling wind. Then you spot enormous, humanoid prints leading off toward jagged peaks, far larger than any known animal's tracks. This is the enduring image of the Yeti, or Abominable Snowman, a legendary ape-like creature said to inhabit the high Himalayas. Despite decades of mountaineering expeditions, footprint casts, ambiguous hair samples, and local testimonies, the Yeti's existence remains one of the world's most fascinating cryptozoological puzzles. Local Himalayan communities, from Sherpas to Tibetan and Nepalese villagers, have long shared stories of a wild man of the snows, sometimes called Mete or Migoi. These accounts describe a bipedal being covered in white or reddish-brown fur, elusive yet occasionally glimpsed near remote mountain passes. In Buddhist lore, the Yeti can be seen as a protector spirit or a warning of nature's power, blending respect and fear. Western interest surged during early 20th century mountaineering ventures. Explorers reported strange footprints and odd howls echoing through valleys, fueling newspaper headlines and scientific curiosity. Footprint evidence often comes from fresh snow, where melting and refreezing can distort impressions, making them appear larger or misshapen. Some casts exhibit clear toe-like marks. Others are ambiguous depressions. Notably, expedition members, including those accompanying Sir Edmund Hillary in the 1950s, collected plaster casts of large footprints, later analyzed by experts who debated whether they originated from bears walking on their hind legs or an unknown primate. Critics point out that melting snow can create elongated shapes, while proponents argue that the tracks look too realistic, with details like heel and toe shapes to be just random shapes in the snow. Hair and tissue samples attributed to Yeti have been subjected to DNA analysis. Results frequently identify known species such as Himalayan brown bear, Tibetan blue bear, or even livestock. Yet some studies report mitochondrial DNA sequences that do not perfectly match reference databases, leaving room for further investigation into regional bear subspecies or extinct lineages. Environmental DNA sampling in melting snowfields and alpine streams offers a new approach. By sequencing genetic material shed into the environment, researchers may detect unexpected primate sequences. Though sampling remote, high-altitude terrain poses logistical challenges. Sightings and anecdotal reports continue into the 21st century. Climbers describe fleeting shapes against snowfields. Camera traps occasionally record unexplained movements at forest edges below the treeline, and villagers recount encounters with something large and humanoid near cliff faces. Skeptics attribute these to misidentified bears, large langur monkeys descending for food, optical illusions in low light or foggy conditions, or deliberate hoaxes designed to attract tourism. Yet the persistence of similar stories across diverse communities suggests a kernel of cultural or observational consistency that demands consideration. Ecologically, sustaining a breeding population of large primates at high altitudes requires ample food and shelter. Some propose that if a relict hominid or unknown primate exists, it might live in lower forested slopes in small numbers, venturing higher occasionally and leaving tracks in snow. Others argue that known Himalayan fauna, such as bears emerging from hibernation, or even snow leopards, could explain most sightings when viewed under unusual conditions. The question remains whether folklore inspired misinterpretations, or whether genuine, unknown creatures inspired the lore. Scientific expeditions to collect footprints, hair, and audio recordings of mysterious vocalizations continue, often in partnership with local guides whose ancestral knowledge points to traditional Yeti territories. High-resolution photography, infrared cameras, and drone surveys extend the search, but definitive evidence, such as a clear image, verified DNA from an unknown species, or a specimen, remains elusive. Meanwhile, the Yeti endures as a symbol of the wild Himalayas, a reminder that even in the age of satellites and global mapping, remote regions might still hold secrets. If this Himalayan enigma captured your imagination, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Next, we'll travel to Scotland for cryptid number 3, the Loch Ness Monster. Imagine standing on the mist-shrouded shores of Loch Ness at dawn, the dark waters stretching out before you, when a ripple breaks the silence and a long, sinuous silhouette glides beneath the surface. This is the enduring image of the Loch Ness Monster, affectionately known as Nessie, a creature of legend that has captivated the world for nearly a century. Despite countless purported sightings, blurred photographs, sonar readings, and even modern environmental DNA surveys, no definitive proof has emerged, leaving Loch Ness as one of cryptozoology's most tantalizing mysteries. Accounts of something unusual in Loch Ness date back to medieval times. Stories of water beasts, kelpies, or river monsters appear in local folklore and annals. Yet the modern obsession began in 1933, when newspapers reported a monster sighting and sensationalized a photograph of a hump-like shape breaking the surface. From that moment, tourists, journalists, and researchers flocked to the highlands, hoping to glimpse or capture evidence of an animal unlike any known freshwater species. People who claim to have seen the monster describe it differently. Some say it has a long neck, others describe humps or wavy shapes moving through the water, and a few even report seeing flippers or hearing strange noises underwater. Skeptics think these sightings might be mistaken identifications of things like logs, boat wakes, waves, or known animals like otters or seals. However, believers point out that many descriptions have remained consistent over the years. They also note that Loch Ness is a unique environment, with depths of over 200 meters, murky waters, and strong currents. These conditions can create optical illusions and make it easy to miss large objects, which might explain why the monster remains a mystery. Scientific investigations have ranged from early aerial photography to extensive sonar surveys. In the 1970s and 1980s, sonar scans detected unexplained echoes, prompting excitement but failing to yield visual confirmation. More recently, automated underwater cameras and remote sensing floated in the loch, aiming to capture clear images, yet they returned ambiguous or no results. In the 21st century, environmental DNA sampling added a new dimension. Researchers collected water samples from various depths and analyzed genetic traces to catalog known species in the loch. The results confirmed abundant fish species such as salmon, Arctic char, and eels, but no DNA matching an unknown large vertebrate. While the absence of unknown DNA makes a breeding population of a large creature unlikely, some argue that if an individual visited occasionally or a small group inhabits hidden caves, traces might be too sparse to detect reliably. Numerous explanations have been proposed, such as a surviving plesiosaur relic from ancient times, oversized eels or sturgeons, giant catfish, or simply hoaxes and misinterpretations amplified by expectation. Photographic evidence often unravels under scrutiny. Yet, the Loch Ness Monster persists in popular imagination, fueled by the loch's dramatic landscape, the human love of mystery, and the hope that some corners of our planet still hide wonders. Local communities embrace the legend. Tourism centered on Nessie boosts the Highland economy, and the story has become part of Scotland's cultural heritage. Researchers, both amateur and professional, continue organized watches, sharing footage and data online. Even if modern science seems to lean against the existence of a large unknown creature, each new technique offers a chance for fresh insight, and the legend endures partly because definitive disproof is as elusive as conclusive proof. Ultimately, Nessie symbolizes our fascination with the unexplored and the possibility that myths may hold a kernel of truth. Whether Loch Ness conceals an undiscovered species or simply mirrors our collective yearning for mystery, the search unites believers and skeptics in a shared quest. If this lochside enigma captured your imagination, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Next, we'll journey to Point Pleasant for cryptid number 4, the Mothman. Picture yourself driving through a quiet West Virginia landscape at dusk when you glimpse a tall, winged figure with glowing red eyes standing by an abandoned power plant, then feel an inexplicable chill as it vanishes into the twilight. This is the legend of Mothman, a foreboding, humanoid creature first reported around Point Pleasant in the mid-1960s, linked to strange lights, eerie sightings, and even tragic omens. Decades later, Mothman remains one of America's most haunting cryptid tales, blending eyewitness testimony, folklore, and unexplained phenomena into a mystery that resists simple explanation. The modern saga began in November 1966, when two couples near Clendenin, West Virginia, claimed they saw a large creature whose eyes glowed red and whose wingspan was several feet wide. After that, many people in Point Pleasant started reporting strange experiences. They purportedly saw dark shapes flying overhead, bright lights in the sky, and felt an eerie sense of fear or unease. Local newspapers chronicled these accounts, and interest snowballed into a cultural phenomenon. The creature became known as Mothman, a name popularized by a reporter's reference to its moth-like wings and nocturnal behavior. Eyewitness descriptions varied but shared common elements. A man-sized or larger figure with broad wings, glowing eyes, and rapid, silent flight. Some reported hearing metallic flapping sounds or high-pitched screeches. Many felt an overwhelming sense of foreboding, believing the sightings heralded disaster. This belief intensified when on December 15, 1967, the Silver Bridge over the Ohio River collapsed, killing 46 people. Some locals connected Mothman sightings to the tragedy, interpreting the creature as a supernatural warning or embodiment of impending doom. Skeptics argue the timing was coincidental and that structural failure, not prophecy, caused the collapse. Investigators have explored various explanations. Ornithologists note that large birds, such as sandhill cranes or herons, can appear unusual when seen at close range in poor light, their wings and reflective eyes creating eerie impressions. Owls flying low can reflect headlights, producing glowing eye effects. Mass hysteria and suggestion likely amplified reports. Once the idea of a winged monster circulated, ambiguous sightings and noises could be interpreted through that lens. Hoaxes and pranks cannot be ruled out, though many witnesses maintain sincerity. Paranormal researchers and authors like John Keel delve deeper, linking Mothman to UFO activity, strange creatures in other regions, and broader Men in Black lore. Keel's accounts describe simultaneous reports of luminous orbs and other anomalies, suggesting a more complex phenomenon than a misidentified animal. Critics question the reliability of anecdotal data and urge rigorous documentation, but the absence of physical evidence keeps Mothman in the realm of legend rather than zoology. In Point Pleasant today, Mothman lives on as cultural icon. A statue commemorates the legend. An annual festival draws enthusiasts, and books and films explore the mythos. Researchers occasionally revisit the region, interviewing aging witnesses or sifting through newspaper archives, hoping to uncover overlooked clues. Modern equipment, such as infrared cameras and motion sensors, has been deployed at hotspot locations, yet yields only common wildlife activity or inconclusive data. The challenge lies in distinguishing genuine anomalies from natural or human-made causes in a landscape primed by expectation. Ultimately, the Mothman legend persists because it speaks to fundamental human fears. The fear of things we don't understand, especially in the dark or unknown, and the idea that strange creatures or events might be warning us of impending danger. It also taps into our fascination with mysterious beings that blur the line between reality and myth. Whether a misperceived bird, a collective psychological phenomenon, or something more elusive, the legend invites us to question what we see and what meaning we ascribe to unexplained events. If this eerie encounter stirred your curiosity, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Up next, we'll journey to Latin America for cryptid number 5, the Chupacabra. Imagine a rancher in a remote Latin American village checking livestock at dawn, only to find animals drained of blood with mysterious puncture wounds. No signs of struggle, no footprints of known predators, and a pervasive sense of dread in the air. This is the chilling premise of the Chupacabra legend, a creature whose name literally means goat sucker. First reported in Puerto Rico in the mid-1990s and since claimed in many regions worldwide. Despite purported eyewitness accounts, alleged physical evidence, and sensational media coverage, the true nature of the Chupacabra remains elusive. The modern saga began in 1995 when farmers in Puerto Rico discovered goats and other animals found dead, their bodies seemingly exsanguinated. Witnesses described a reptile-like or alien-looking creature, roughly the size of a small bear, with leathery skin, spines along its back, and glowing eyes. Sketches and early reports fueled widespread alarm and fascination. Soon, similar reports emerged in Mexico, the southern United States, and beyond, each region adapting the legend to local folklore and environmental context. Descriptions vary significantly. Some portray the Chupacabra as a bipedal, hairless creature with pronounced fangs. Others depict a canine-like animal suffering from severe mange, appearing emaciated and aggressive. Livestock victims purportedly show puncture marks on the neck or chest and appear drained of blood, though forensic studies frequently find that carcasses were actually eaten by scavengers, and blood loss was coincidental or due to dehydration and internal hemorrhaging. Nonetheless, the consistency of blood-draining narratives persists in folklore and popular retellings. Scientific investigations into alleged chupacabra carcasses have largely pointed to known animals, such as stray dogs, coyotes, or other canids afflicted by mange or disease, whose mangy fur, emaciated bodies, and strange behavior inspire fear and misidentification. DNA analyses on tissue samples often confirm domestic or wild canid origins. Yet some samples yield degraded DNA or ambiguous results, leaving room for speculation. In a few cases, remains dated to non-canine species such as raccoons or possums, but none conclusively identify an unknown predator. The gap between dramatic eyewitness descriptions and forensic findings highlights how fear and expectation can shape perceptions. Folklorists note that the Chupacabra legend taps into deep anxieties around livelihood, encroaching development, and the unknown. Rural communities reliant on livestock are particularly vulnerable to real predation losses, and a mysterious beast offers a narrative framework to express these fears. Media sensationalism amplifies each sighting, creating a feedback loop. Once the concept of the Chupacabra enters local consciousness, ambiguous evidence or ordinary predation events can be cast in its shadow. Despite scientific explanations, some reports resist easy dismissal. Eyewitnesses describe hearing strange vocalizations, like high-pitched screeches or guttural growls, seeing unusual tracks that do not match known species, or witnessing nocturnal silhouettes moving with agility. In many areas, these narratives persist alongside pragmatic understandings that mange-afflicted canids are the likelier culprits. Globalization has spread the legend. Sightings have been reported in the Philippines, Russia, and elsewhere. In each context, the Chupacabra myth provides a flexible template for unexplained livestock deaths or eerie encounters in rural landscapes. Some investigators continue to organize stakeouts, set camera traps, and collect samples in hotspot regions. While no definitive Chupacabra species has been identified, these efforts sometimes yield valuable data on local wildlife health and ecosystem dynamics. Ultimately, whether the Chupacabra is a mangy canine, an exotic escapee, or purely a product of rumor and fear, the legend continues to fascinate and alarm. If this eerie tale has captured your attention, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Up next, we'll head to New Jersey's Pine Barrens for cryptid number 6, the Jersey Devil. Picture yourself taking a walk through the dense pine forests of New Jersey at dusk when an otherworldly shriek echoes through the trees, and you catch a glimpse of a winged, hoofed figure disappearing into the shadows. This is the legend of the Jersey Devil, a fearsome creature said to haunt the Pine Barrens since colonial times. Despite centuries of reported encounters, no definitive proof has emerged, leaving the Jersey Devil as one of America's most enduring folkloric mysteries. The legend of the Jersey Devil dates back to the 18th century. According to local legend, a woman named Mother Leeds, who was having her 13th child, cursed the offspring, which was born as a monstrous figure with bat-like wings, cloven hooves, and a piercing cry. While historians doubt the story's literal truth, it reflects the fears and superstitions of frontier communities surrounded by dense, isolating woods. Over time, the legend blended with reported phenomena such as mysterious animal deaths, unexplained footprints, and eerie screams echoing through the woods at night. Purported eyewitness accounts vary but share core elements. A creature roughly human-sized or slightly smaller, with leathery wings, a goat-like head or face, claws or hooves, and a chilling scream likened to a child's wail or an anguished animal. Some reports describe glowing eyes. Others mention a foul odor or an unnerving presence. Skeptics attribute sightings to misidentified animals such as owls, large birds, or deer, and to hoaxes or local pranks, especially during periods of high publicity. In 1909, a flurry of newspaper stories detailed mass sightings. Terrified residents claimed they saw the devil swooping over rooftops or landing on train cars. While later analysis suggests many were jokes or mass hysteria, the incident cemented the Jersey Devil in popular culture. Folklorists believe that the Pine Barrens' eerie and isolated environment, with its dense forests, sparse population, and unusual wildlife, creates the perfect setting for legends to emerge. Paranormal investigators add layers to the myth. Some link the Jersey Devil to ghostly phenomena, cryptic symbols, or even UFO lore, suggesting the creature might be interdimensional or supernatural rather than biological. Yet no physical evidence has ever surfaced. Modern efforts employ trail cameras, audio recorders, and night vision equipment in hotspot areas, yet yield only typical wildlife activity or inconclusive anomalies. Environmental factors such as owls calling at night, wind through treetops, or distant animal sounds can easily be misinterpreted in a landscape primed by legend. Nonetheless, the myth persists, sustained by local festivals, books, and media portrayals that celebrate the mystery as a unique part of regional identity. Ultimately, whether born of misidentification, collective fear, or some hidden reality, the Jersey Devil continues to thrill and terrify those drawn to the Pine Barrens. If this eerie tale captured your imagination, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Next, we'll journey to France for cryptid number 7, the Beast of Gévaudan. Imagine the mist-shrouded hills and dense forests of 18th-century Gévaudan, where villagers live in close-knit communities, but always with one eye on the wild. Between 1764 and 1767, a series of brutal attacks sent shockwaves through rural France. Men, women, and children were purportedly found mauled in ways that defied normal animal behavior. News of a monstrous predator, dubbed the Beast of Gévaudan, spread rapidly, blending fear, folklore, and royal intervention into one of Europe's most enduring mysteries. Eyewitnesses described a creature unlike any known wolf. Larger than a dog, sometimes as tall as a man at the shoulder, with a reddish coat, a broad chest, and a mouth filled with unusually sharp teeth. Some accounts mention it moving with uncanny agility, leaping fences, pursuing victims across fields, while others claim it seemed almost cunning, avoiding traps and eluding hunters. Local peasants spoke in hushed tones of uncanny howls at night, livestock disappearing in unexplained ways, and a palpable sense of dread that something inhuman stalked the countryside. The scale and brutality of the attacks were exceptional. Contemporary records estimate over 100 fatalities, many children or young women, their bodies discovered with deep wounds to the throat and limbs, sometimes partially devoured. Survivors and witnesses recounted frantic escapes, desperate screams echoing through valleys, and the terror of knowing the beast might strike again at any time. This wave of violence transcended ordinary wolf predation, prompting villagers to abandon fields and gatherings, and fueling rumors that this was no mere animal but a supernatural fiend or a werewolf cursed by dark forces. When King Louis XV heard about the attacks, he sent royal hunters to track down and kill the beast. François Antoine, the king's top hunter, led the hunts. He organized large groups of villagers and soldiers to surround areas where the beast was likely hiding, in an effort to flush it out and stop the terror. Despite numerous wolves and wolf-like creatures being slain, attacks persisted, leading Antoine to conclude that either multiple beasts were involved or that a single exceptionally elusive animal remained at large. At one point, he shot an animal deemed too young or too small to be the primary culprit. Yet reports of attacks continued, deepening the mystery. Local nobles and clergy offered rewards to anyone who could kill the beast. Some hunters took advantage of this by claiming they'd killed the beast, even if they just found a regular wolf, so they could collect the reward. Villagers also turned to traditional remedies, such as prayers, special rituals, and protective charms, in hopes of keeping themselves safe from the beast. The blend of official military hunts, grassroots vigilance, and supernatural explanations created a climate where fact and legend interwove. Modern scholars and cryptozoologists have revisited archival documents, depositions, and parish records to piece together plausible explanations. Some propose that a large, rogue wolf or wolf-dog hybrid, perhaps escaped from traveling menageries or bred by poachers, could account for the size and ferocity. Others suggest a pack or series of wolves driven by food scarcity might have learned to attack humans, but this fails to explain reports of a single, unusually bold animal. A less conventional theory speculates on exotic predators, such as lions or hyenas kept by private collectors, escaping into the wild, though evidence for such escapes is lacking. Genetic analysis of any remains would be definitive, but no verified specimen survives. The social context adds complexity. Rural poverty, political unrest, and religious fervor shaped how people interpreted the attacks. In an era before scientific wildlife management, unexplained horrors were often cast in supernatural terms. The beast's legend spread beyond Gévaudan, influencing art, literature, and later folkloric traditions about man-eating monsters in remote regions. Even today, guided tours in Lozier recall the terror through local lore. While historians debate whether the phenomenon was a uniquely violent animal a series of animals, or partly mass hysteria amplified by sensational reports. Despite exhaustive archival research, physical evidence remains elusive. No confirmed skull or body linked specifically to the beast survives, and written descriptions vary in detail and reliability. The exact number of victims is unclear, as some deaths may have been misattributed to the beast when other causes applied. Yet, the consistency of certain core elements, such as size, ferocity, and the ability to evade hunters, across independent testimonies suggests a genuine, extraordinary predation event. Ultimately, whether it was a monstrous wolf hybrid, a sequence of predatory animals, or a legend magnified by fear, the episodes in Gévaudan remind us that even in relatively recent history, the boundary between the known and the mysterious can be perilously thin. If this chilling saga captured your imagination, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Up next, we'll journey to Australia for cryptid number 8, the Yowie. Picture yourself trekking through Australia's ancient eucalyptus forests at twilight when you spot immense footprints in soft earth. Prints far larger than any humans, and hear distant, wood-knocking sounds echoing between the trees. This is the enduring image of the Yowie, a tall, hairy humanoid said to roam the outback and remote woodlands. Despite centuries of indigenous oral traditions, numerous reported encounters, and occasional footprint casts and ambiguous photos, definitive evidence remains elusive, making the Yowie one of Australia's most intriguing cryptozoological mysteries. Aboriginal cultures across the continent have shared stories about hairy men or wild folk living in the wilderness. These beings, sometimes called the Yok, are part of ancient stories that teach respect for the land and warn people about the dangers of venturing into remote areas alone. These ancestral narratives describe beings of great strength and size, often nocturnal, occasionally observed at a distance but rarely approached. Early European settlers recorded frontier anecdotes of giant figures glimpsed at dusk, reinforcing indigenous warnings about the unknown lurking beyond cleared lands. Modern Yowie lore gained momentum in the 19th and 20th centuries as rural communities shared stories of encounters, with ranchers purportedly finding enormous footprints near waterholes, campers hearing untraceable howls or branch breaks at night, and occasional blurred photographs or video clips showing a bulky, upright figure moving through shadowed bush. Some footprint casts measure over 30 centimeters long with toe-like impressions and dermal ridges, though critics note that soft soil conditions can distort animal prints or that hoaxes sometimes exploit local fears. Yet, the consistency of certain footprint characteristics in multiple regions suggests genuine, unexplained observations. Researchers have organized expeditions with trail cameras, infrared sensors, and acoustic recorders in Yowie hotspot areas, such as the remote forested ranges in New South Wales, Queensland, and Western Australia. While many recordings capture known wildlife like kangaroos, wallabies, or large birds, some audio samples include low-frequency vocalizations that resist easy identification. Video footage often suffers from poor visibility or rapid movement, leaving interpretation open. Environmental DNA sampling of water sources frequented by reported Yowie activity is a new avenue. If a large unknown mammal frequents these sites, trace DNA could reveal unexpected sequences, although no conclusive results have emerged to date. Possible explanations range from undiscovered large primate populations descended from ancient lineages to misidentified known animals, to cultural phenomena where expectation and folklore shape perceptions. Some scientists emphasize that Australia's unique ecosystem offers limited niches for a large, elusive hominid to remain undetected, while others point out the continent's vast, sparsely inhabited regions where secretive species might persist at low densities. Ultimately, the Yowie legend speaks to humanity's fascination with the wild and the possibility that remote landscapes still hold secrets. Whether an undiscovered species, a misinterpretation of known fauna, or a powerful cultural archetype, the Yowie endures in Australia's collective imagination. If this outback enigma captured your curiosity, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Up next, we'll journey to Canada for cryptid number 9, the Ogopogo. Imagine standing on the misty shores of British Columbia's Okanagan Lake at dawn, when the water is glassy and still, and suddenly a series of ripples appears miles out, growing into a dark, undulating shape that seems to rise and fall beneath the surface. This is the enduring image of Ogopogo, Canada's most famous lake monster, said to inhabit the deep waters of Okanagan Lake. Despite centuries of indigenous legends, numerous eyewitness reports, occasional photographs, and even sonar echoes, no definitive evidence has confirmed Ogopogo's existence, leaving the mystery alive in both local lore and scientific curiosity. Long before European settlers arrived, the Okanagan people spoke of the lake demon or water god, warning travelers and fishermen to respect the creature that ruled the depths. Their stories describe a powerful, serpentine being whose movements could capsize canoes or bring misfortune if provoked. These oral traditions emphasize cautious reverence for the lake's unseen forces. When colonists heard these tales, they adapted them into the Ogopogo legend, giving it a new name and weaving it into regional folklore. Modern sightings began in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Fishermen and lakeside residents reported seeing a long, snake-like creature with humps breaking the surface, or glimpsing a dark shape moving against wind and waves. Some described a head resembling a horse or serpent. Others saw only rhythmic ripples or unexplained wakes. Photographs and film footage have surfaced over the decades, but they remain blurry or ambiguous, easily attributed to log clusters, boat wakes, or optical illusions in changing light. Yet, the consistency of hump-like descriptions and the lake's great depth fuel speculation that something large could hide below. Scientific investigations have included organized surveys using sonar and underwater cameras. Some sonar scans have picked up large, moving objects, but interpreting these echoes is challenging. Schools of fish, drifting debris, or thermal layers can produce similar readings. Underwater filming attempts often return inconclusive footage blurred by low light and particulate matter. Environmental DNA sampling is a more recent idea, collecting water samples to detect genetic traces of unknown species. While environmental DNA studies in other lakes have identified invasive or rare fish, systematic environmental DNA work for Ogopogo remains limited. If a small population of large animals existed, their DNA signatures might be too scarce or transient to detect confidently. Alternate explanations abound. Logs or floating debris can create hump-like disturbances. Swimming otters or groups of otters might appear as multiple humps. Large sturgeon or other fish species could produce unexpected shapes or sonar echoes. People's expectations, influenced by local legends, can cause them to see or interpret unclear things as the monster. On the other hand, the lake's vast, dark depths and sudden storms can create genuine unease, making even mundane events feel uncanny. Ogopogo has become a cultural icon. Lakeside statues, tourism promotions, and local festivals celebrate the legend, blending respect for indigenous heritage with the thrill of the unexplained. Researchers continue to interview witnesses, review historical accounts, and consider new technologies to probe the lake's secrets. Yet until clear, verifiable evidence emerges, be it unmistakable video, a physical specimen, or genetic proof, the enigma remains. If this deep-water mystery captured your imagination, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Next, we'll journey to Australia for cryptid number 10, the Bunyip. Picture yourself standing at the edge of an isolated billabong or winding riverbank in the Australian outback at dusk. When the frogs fall silent and the water's surface ripples inexplicably, locals whisper of a lurking presence beneath the dark waters. This is the legend of the Bunyip, a mysterious, often fearsome water-dwelling creature from Aboriginal lore that has haunted settler accounts and captivated cryptid enthusiasts for centuries. Despite numerous descriptions, alleged sightings, and occasional footprint or vocalization reports, no concrete evidence has confirmed the Bunyip's existence, leaving it as one of Australia's most enduring enigmas. Aboriginal traditions across different language groups speak of the Bunyip under various names, often describing it as a large, amphibious or aquatic entity inhabiting billabongs, swamps, and river holes. In some stories, it has a massive body with smooth, dark skin, a head like a horse or a crocodile, and a booming, resonant cry that warns trespassers away. These tales served both as cautionary lessons, warning children not to approach dangerous waters, and as spiritual narratives tying people to the land's deeper forces. When European colonists arrived in the 19th century, they recorded Aboriginal warnings about strange noises or creatures in remote waterways, integrating these into colonial folklore and sensational press reports. Early European settlers in Australia reported strange occurrences, like unexplained roars at night, mysterious footprints near rivers, and unknown animal carcasses. However, these reports were often vague and varied depending on the region. Some newspapers published drawings of giant footprints and stories of fear among isolated communities. Skeptics argue that many of these reports were likely due to settlers misidentifying known animals or natural sounds in the unfamiliar landscape. Despite this, the consistent warnings about a mysterious creature in Aboriginal stories and some settler accounts suggest that there may be a shared experience or cultural significance to these mysterious events. Scientific investigations into supposed Bunyip evidence remain limited. Footprint casts attributed to the creature have typically turned out to match large known mammals, or can be explained by erosion, overlapping tracks, or imaginative embellishment. Reports of carcasses often stem from decomposing known animals that appear unusual when partially scavenged or bloated. Modern technologies, such as camera traps near waterholes, underwater cameras in billabongs, and environmental DNA sampling, offer potential avenues to detect unknown species, but the vastness of the outback's waterways and the sporadic nature of sightings make targeted studies challenging. To date, no DNA sequence or clear imagery has pointed to a novel aquatic cryptid. Explanations range from misidentified wildlife, such as large monitor lizards, water rats, or seals in inland waterways, to echoes of extinct megafauna whose memory persisted in Aboriginal storytelling. Some researchers propose that Aboriginal oral traditions preserve distant recollections of megafaunal creatures like giant marsupials that survived into early human habitation, evolving into Bunyip myths over generations. Others emphasize psychological and cultural factors. Despite the lack of hard evidence, the Bunyip remains a potent symbol of the Australian wilderness's mysteries. Its story highlights the intersection of indigenous knowledge and settler curiosity, reminding us how oral traditions can preserve cautionary wisdom about environmental hazards while also inviting wonder at hidden realms. For cryptid enthusiasts, the Bunyip exemplifies a creature born from deep cultural roots rather than fleeting sensationalism, its legend continuing to inspire exploration of remote waterways and respectful engagement with Aboriginal perspectives. If this haunting aquatic enigma captured your imagination, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Thank you for joining us on this journey through 10 legendary beasts science can't explain. Stay curious and keep exploring the unknown.